Welcome YouTube friends and family to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. Today I'm going to bring you along on my maiden voyage of my grain mill and pray everything comes out all right. So I'm going to be baking a recipe out of the Home Ground Flour book, which is from the Bread Beckers. And again, their channel doesn't have a lot of videos. They're also on Instagram, but the information is great. So I'm going to make some dark molasses oatmeal bread. So how I've started here in my KitchenAid is I have taken 1 cup of oats and mixed it with 2 cups of hot water, and it's been sitting for about 20 minutes. Now I am going to be adding all of the goodness. So first thing is 1/2 cup of unsulfured black strap molasses. So I'm going to use my OXO dial-up measuring cup. I did put some like cooking spray in there so it would come out easier. So let me just load this up. And I also use this to make my brown sugar. So that is why I'm buying it in gallons now, because I am using a lot. Okay. So let me just dry solids filter. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna add in our 1/2 cup of unsulfured molasses. And of course I forgot my scraper. It wouldn't be a video if I didn't forget something, right? So I apologize. Fridays is my laundry day, so you can probably hear my washer spinning out merrily, and it is kind of loud, so my apologies. Okay, to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil. Now, you could use olive oil. I am not going to. I'm going to be using corn oil because I think olive oil can impart a very strong taste to your bread that I don't want in this particular bread because it is a sweeter bread. Okay, so that is 2 tablespoons of oil of your choice. Salt, we are going to add 1 tablespoon. Yes, I said tablespoon. Okay, so I'm probably just gonna use the hand thing. It's probably a little easier. Okay, so that's only about 1/2 of a tablespoon. That's a lot of salt, but that's what this recipe calls for, so that's what we're going to use. All right. Now we need warm water, about 1/2 cup, and I have used my hot pot. It is still warm, so let me just get a 1/2 cup here. Exactly. And we will add that. Interesting bread recipe. It was so intriguing. I'm like, I totally have to make that. Okay, add molasses, oil, salt, and warm water. Mix to combine. Okay, so we'll do that. And I do have my dough hook on. And just a reminder, if you have a KitchenAid mixer, anytime you're using dough hook, don't go above 2 on your speed. The next thing we need is 3 cups of freshly milled red wheat. So, in the little intro clip, I measured out a generous 1.5 cups, which should yield about 3 cups. Now, this is the first time I've used my mill. It's been cleaned. That's all I can say. And you do want to put it to bread. You want to turn on your mill before you start actually putting the grain in. Okay, so that's well mixed. So I'm gonna, are you ready, guys? First time. It's powerful. this thing is supposed to be, it says the world's quietest mill. Like in what universe is that the quietest mill? Oh my word. I mean, perhaps you were supposed to put the lid on. However, yeah, that was pretty noisy. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Oh, well, I've floured myself, but look at this beautiful hard red wheat flour. So it says to add the 3 cups. So let's see if my 1.5 cups milled enough. Wow. It smells so good. It kind of has a bread smell to it. So I'm just going to turn this on like a 1 and start adding this in. And it is sort of a wheat color. It is not, oh, don't use that. It's not the white bleached flour like you're accustomed to seeing in the store. So, this is going to be a beautiful rustic looking loaf of bread. Guys, that was just about spot on. So I am not going to waste the 2 tablespoons I had left. I'm just going to put it in a little dish till I decide. I may just put it in with my regular all-purpose flour. However, that's probably not a good idea because it does have the germ in it, so and the oils, so it may spoil. So let me scrape the bowl down here a little bit, and I will bring you over here so you can see what I'm doing. Wow, does that ever smell good? I'm curious, drop me a comment below. Do you all like molasses? I have to be careful. I can't eat molasses like plain as a sweetener raw because it gives me heartburn. Am I old or what, guys? But baked in things like gingerbread or just used as a sweetener doesn't bother me at all. And my parents, growing up, sorghum molasses was a big crop. And so near the town they grew up in, every year they have what's called a sorghum festival. And they just have all kinds of delightful things like stack cake, guys. I have a recipe, which I got from Whippoorwill Holler. And again, she won't know who I am, that I may make one day. Okay. And then it says, sprinkle yeast over top and continue mixing. So our yeast is a tablespoon of quick rise instant yeast. So let me grab that out of the freezer. I'm going to pause you for a moment because I'm going to bring you around to the other side so you can actually see what the batter looks like. All right. So off camera, I went ahead and ground a heaping half cup of soft white wheat. And it says you're going to add 1 to 1.5 cups to your mixer. So I'm doing half cup measures. So let me start there. And I can tell you, I'm not sure this made quite as much of an overabundance as it almost doubled it in size. But I didn't want to do too much. And I also went ahead and added the remainder of the hard red wheat. Good, bad, or indifferent, I did it. Okay. Anytime, this is a little less than a cup. Anytime you're making bread, guys, it's very dependent on the temperature in your kitchen. So here's what we have. The humidity in your kitchen. So that is why it says 1 to 1.5 cups. I'm gonna let this all incorporate, clean up the flour fleek. It seems to be everywhere. And oh, incidentally, putting the lid on makes it so much quieter, guys. Should have done that. So let me scrape this down a little bit. I think this is gonna definitely need more flour, but let's see. Let's give it another couple minutes to mix, and then I'll bring you back and show you how much flour I needed to add. So I've ended up adding, it said 1 to 1.5 cups of soft white. I have added 2 to 2 1/4, but the warmth and the humidity in my house, I think, is making it want more, and you can see that it's starting to pick the dough up on the hook. So I'm not going to add any more flour, and I'm going to start the kneading process. It says 5 to 8 minutes until smooth. So I'm going to set a timer, and I will bring you back to show you what it looks like at the end of that time. Okay guys, here is our dough. It's still sticky, but I can pull my finger away without a big clump of dough. Now, I will tell you in full honesty, I added 2 cups, yes, 2 cups of additional flour above what the recipe said. So this may either be really good or really awful, but you know, this is the first time I've used the recipe. Probably not the smartest thing to do. I'm just covering it here with a damp towel. I'm gonna put it into my oven with the light on to rise until it's double, and I'll bring you back. You may have noticed I switched to an apron, and that is because I look a bit like the Pillsbury dough girl. I will tell you all, I've learned a couple things about the grain mill. It works amazingly well. I have 2 comments. One is, if that is the world's quietest grain mill, I would hate to hear an average grain mill, but it's much better if you put the lid on the grain hopper side. So turn on your machine, add your grain, put the lid on. It decreases the noise, and you also won't get little spit outs of pieces of grain. I probably should have filmed it, but I was like, oh my word. Make sure the lid is snapped on the flour receptacle, and the tube that connects the grinder with the receptacle is fully inserted, because if not, you will blow flour everywhere. So having on a brown shirt, I have washed myself several times, but it's still a little flourish looking. So big reveal, guys. I'm a little hesitant, but let's see what we got here. Oh my word, look how big and foofy our dough is. So I'm very pleased with that. I really can't tell you why mine needed so much more flour than the recipe called for. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to, I have clean hands. I am going to use oil on the counter. You can use flour. I'm going to punch down my dough. Oh, this is a happy dough, but it is a sticky dough. And that is why I am using oil. I still hope this turns out, because I have to tell you, this is the stickiest loaf bread dough I believe I've ever made, and I was afraid to add any more flour that it would be tough. Okay, so just going to knead this up. I'm going to divide it in half. If you're very exact, you could weigh it, but yeah, that's good enough for me. And now I am going to roll this into a smooth ball, which was surprisingly easy to do. So here's what I have. I'm going to put it on a cookie sheet, and I'll show you this in just a moment. So these are not loaf pan loaves of bread. These are actually little round loaves. So you want to get it as smooth as you can. Ugh, I have so much dough on my hands, wow. But it's not really sticking to the counter with the oil, so that would be my suggestion to you. And I just want to get this as smooth, and just tucking it underneath, going around and around. And that's what you have. So let me wash up my hands wash up the counter, and I'll show you how we are going to take care of the tops before the second 30-minute rise. And incidentally, the first rise was 1 hour. So here are our 2 loaves of bread. What I have done, if you see little water droplets, it says to mist them lightly with water. Well, I don't have a mister. And then I'm going to use a lame. You could certainly use a sharp knife. And I am going to cut some scores into the bread. And not only does this look nice, it allows the bread, guys, excuse the gnat flying by. I'm going to get that thing. Let's see if we can do something fancy on this one. I'm not very good at fancy stuff, but let's see. Oh yeah, this will be cute. But it allows the gases to escape as the bread rises and cooks so that you don't end up with big blowouts. And even if you end up with a big blowout, guys, the bread is still fine and good to eat. So I don't know what you call that. Maybe a staff of wheat. And then I'm going to put a little bit of whole oats on the top. And this is more for decoration than it is necessary, but it is something the recipe suggests. Oh, I sure hope this is good, guys. I thought about like ditching the video, and I'm like, oh no, I gotta have it up tomorrow, and I don't have time probably to do another one. So we're just gonna go with it. Now, it says leave this on your counter for 30 minutes until it's doubled in bulk. I'm here to tell you it's a little chilly in the house. It's probably not going to do well doubling on my counter. I'm going to put it back into my oven for 30 minutes. I will bring you back. You can see the size right now. In fact, let's pull this guy down a little bit. There we go. And we'll see where we end up. So while our bread is rising for the second rise, I thought I would just share a couple updates with you. It's been a very busy day here. I am still harvesting small amounts out of my garden. I was able to prepare and freeze about a quart of tomatoes. I had some fruit, bananas for banana bread that I wanted to vacuum seal. I also did a very small harvest, but I'm super happy with it, of my strawberry calendula. Every few days I'm getting more, so that will go in the dehydrator to be used for soap and other body products. And this is super exciting, guys. My first kombucha. So it is a tea that I've let ferment for a period of time. Now I have pulled it out and it's in the second ferment. So this is going to go back into a dark cupboard. But I added some of my home canned organic blueberries and honey to flavor it. And it will stay in the dark for 2 to 4 days. I'll be tasting it. And once it reaches the proper fermentation and it will also get a little carbonated, then it will be ready to drink. So once I've kind of perfected it, I will bring you some information on kombucha because it is super healthy for you and much, much better for you than soda. I'm not a soda drinker. I like it, but I quit drinking it years ago and have never gone back. So those are some new exciting updates. And I also am doing my research now on the honey mead. So drop me a comment below. If I make mead, would that be something you would be interested in seeing the process? Let me know by a comment below. And I'll see you in a few minutes once our bread is ready to bake. Are you ready for the big reveal of our second rise? I'm glad I did not abandon this video because look how beautiful, like they've married each other. They're so huge. I don't want to dump it in the floor. So now what we're going to do, I have my oven preheating. I had this in the oven, so that is partially why my oven isn't preheated, or I would have started it sooner. I have a large oven. It takes a while. I'm going to do this on convect. It says 35 to 40 minutes. I've told y'all a million times my oven is slow, or in other words, it takes a little bit longer. So I'm going to suspect that we're going to be at about 40 minutes, but I will bring you back to show you the final bread. Stay tuned. Our beautiful bread is out of the oven. It's actually too hot to cut, but I'm cutting it anyway because I need to wrap up this video and start uploading. But how pretty. Whoops, I about dropped the bread. So it is a dense bread. It looks to me to be done. Let's check and see. So you can't have fresh hot bread without some butter, right? Okay, don't need to make this such a process. I always take too big of a bite. It is a dense bread, chewy, nice hard crust on the outside, absolutely delicious. So, although I had to add a lot more flour, I think I might have made a mistake on how much hard red wheat I put in. I think I put 2 cups instead of 3, which would explain it. But still a very delicious bread. Drop me a comment below. Is this a recipe you'd be interested in trying? So thank you for watching today. And as always, be healthy, be well, be blessed. And I'll see you all next week. Take care.